I am a fan of the rosin personally, but if it comes to actual optimum quality, consistent results, commercial viability, all of these things that make a lab and a business function, it's BHO all day. It just has to be, at least at this point in time.
Nug Run BHO will cost as much as the best rosin does. Not all BHO is created equal. Educating the customer if it was made with nugget or trim, or if it was CRC or not, will create a new pricing structure for the BHO win. There's levels to this. So what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, there are lots of levels to it, and I can definitely believe Nug Run BHO costing the same as what rosin is now. It's a better product. But the fact that, personally, I haven't heard the word Nug Run at a consumer level for a long time. And I'm kind of convinced that the majority of consumers don't even know what that is. They've probably not heard of it. You say the word diamonds, source, they'll know what those are, but Nug Run seems like it's kind of been wiped from the memory of the public. If you're not a processor, you're not working in the industry, pretty high chance you might not even know what that is. Do you see the same thing I'm seeing?
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think I've heard someone say, oh yeah, I ran some Nug or some BHO in like close to 8-9 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the last time, I saw it was basically probably like 2017, 2018, and haven't seen it since. And I think the market obviously has a big part to do with it, not being able to really fetch the same amount per gram to really make your money back on running Nug, but also like the whole CRC issue. People were skeptical about BHO because they used to use the visual indicator of color to determine whether it was a quality product. And now with CRC, it's like really hard to determine that. So when you go into a dispensary, like you can't, they're not letting you open the jar or smell it. And so you almost have to base it off of only visual indicators, which honestly sucks. And so that's, I think, a big part of it is like, how is the consumer actually able to shop for this product as well? They're just basically relying on the brand's reputation and maybe some sort of visual indicator with the jar being clear enough to see. And that's the only way they have to actually truly determine if it's a flavorful product or not. And
for sure,
that's basically guessing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can really see that stifling a lot of really good processors, because I'm pretty sure they started doing the no smelling thing around COVID, didn't they? And it really put me off even going to the dispensaries. I know I will not buy any flower that I can't smell. And that ties in with the hash as well. If I'm not going to buy flour, I'm definitely not going to buy an extract I can't smell. It's the biggest part of it to me. You tell so much about it by trusting your nose. And if you can't do that, you're right. The visual indicators aren't enough. But that being said, I hear so much trash talk on CRC these days and stuff, and in reality, I know CRC as doing things like removing pesticides you don't want and being beneficial to your health, essentially. What is it that's making people say such negative things about CRC?
I think it's because there was a time in the market where people could fool the consumer and the buyers of these products for these dispensaries and say, hey, this is Nug Run or this is this quality just based on color alone. And I think the consumers got fooled and got burned, and it definitely left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth.
For sure, but in reality, there's no problems with it, right? Like, if you're not lying to the consumer about what it is, you're still getting a good, genuine product out of your CRC material, right?
Yeah, and I think it's very dependent on the consumer education. You're technically, with a CRC product, you're getting a higher potency of. You might lose a lot of the terpenes that made that extract or that original biomass unique, because the media tends to grab onto a lot of those lighter terps and whatnot.
But that'll also vary with the type of media you're using, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like being able to kind of dial in the media with the type of biomass that you're running, and be able to really filter out what you don't want, like the colors and things like that, while retaining all the terpene profile. That's where really understanding your process and being able to control your solvent use and how much you're washing the media out of those terpenes, and getting all that back out while you're filtering is where things get a little tricky. And there have been issues where people will over CRC because they're taking low grade product and trying to polish it up for budget grade butter or crumble and stuff.
And even with CRC, the fire in, fire out still applies.
Yep, exactly.
So if you're going to blindfold your clients in a blind test of rosin versus BHO, both are optimal high-grade products. What do you think they're going to think is what, and what do you think they're going to think is best?
The educated consumer, someone that had some background in the industry, like either manufacturing those products or whatnot, will be able to see the nuances between the two products. With rosin and solventless, if you're taking a dab of it, you're definitely going to taste more of the waxes in the product versus something that was made with BHO and de-waxed or whatnot. And I know for a fact if I smelled something that was like an OG strain, I'd be like, instantly I would know that's not rosin, just because I know that doesn't wash well for rosin. And that's one major thing as well.
You're right, there are definitely strains you'd be able to taste and know that as someone who's worked in the industry and someone who's processed. Would you say the same thing about your average consumer?
Definitely not. I think that's where these debates come up, and it's not really based in science as much as it is based in someone's personal preference. And everyone's got their own personal experiences. Like a lot of people have never tried fire BHO. That kind of phased out of the market super early. While I was lucky enough to try those products when BHO was getting big and closed-loops were coming around, and it was a big thing in the market back in 2014 through 2016. And so I got to try a lot of the best BHO, but that's not the case for a lot of the newer people that have started to consume products, since 2020. And so there's a big difference when you look at people who are, pro BHO. Ask them what time or when did they get into the market? How long have they been in the industry versus someone that is pro rosin? There's a big difference in the timeline in which they entered the marketplace because they just never got exposed to it. And so, I think this whole debate about BHO versus rosin is great because it gives an opportunity for the BHO side of the market to show people what high quality BHO looks like. And I love what Doug is doing in terms of kind of sharing this knowledge and kind of pushing people's buttons and creating the opportunity for BHO producers to produce a product and really get some recognition on the market and whatnot. So
no, that makes a lot of sense.
And to sum it up, at the end of the day, if you had your choice, what would you pick?
See, it's hard to say. I am a fan of the rosin personally, but thinking of it from a scientific perspective, it's kind of hard to choose that option. For what's on the market at the moment, it's rosin for me. I personally like it. I like the fact that I could do it in my garage if I decide I want to. And for me, that's fun. I enjoy that, and that adds to the whole experience for me. But I gotta be honest with myself, and if it comes to actual optimum quality, consistent results, commercial viability, all of these things that make a lab and a business function, it's BHO all day. It just has to be, at least at this point in time.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think despite my whole fridge being full of rosin products, if there was a high quality BHO lab here in SoCal that I could rely on that was actually doing the proper process from the harvest to the flash freezing of the product and extracting it properly, I would definitely, want to go with them as the product of choice. But that's really hard to find. It's almost non-existent in today's market. And I think, this whole debate and the conversations around this are allowing the opportunity for this to come back, but we'll see. I don't know if BHO is going to make a comeback. It's hard to say. Hopefully it does, because it would be, it would be great for consumers and for manufacturers and whatnot. But time will tell.
Yeah, I hope it does as well. And it would be interesting to see if, say, one producer got fed up with how the industry's going right now and just started doing fire in, fire out, nug runs, no CRC all day with single source growers that aren't using pesticides and stuff like that. I would love to see if the consumers were actually willing to pay what that's worth. I feel like it would take some really extreme marketing from these companies, but it's not like it hasn't been done before. I mean, in the industry, I'm going to use cookies as an example. In the industry, you hear a lot of trash talk on cookies flour, and for good reasons. If you're in the industry, you don't understand how they do stuff. But the consumers, they love them. That branding tells them that's what they want, and that marketing, their testimonials, all these influencers, the consumers love it. If you know what you're looking at, it's not a great product, but that packaging sure is pretty,
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that's important to also keep in mind is like the market. Like when you look at any industry, what we consider mids always sells the most in any industry. And
that's where the margins are.
Yeah, exactly. And my thought process is the more we can push this industry to make high quality BHO or high quality rosin, like kind of the mids, almost like raise the bar in a sense for quality. That is ideally what I want the market to move towards, just selfishly speaking, because that means cheaper end products for consumers. They can truly understand what makes cannabis unique and understand like why these terpene profiles, and actually value the terpene profiles that they're getting when they buy an extract or buy cannabis in general. So
I think you're spot on with that, actually valuing the terpenes you're getting off, because the phrase of, oh, as long as it gets me high, or it's just that gets tossed around a lot in a lot of these things, and it's disappointing. It's that education, that care, and that love and passion for the plant, that obviously you can't expect everyone to have. They're just not going to. That's why some people work in it and are obsessed with the industry, and others don't. They just don't care.
Yeah, and if you look at like other industries like alcohol, like people don't just. Some people will say, hey, I just want to get drunk. But like when you look at, the wine industry, or like a lot of these industries that are built around quality, a lot of them are big on flavor and the flavor profile that they're getting from their alcohol. So I do think that as this, 10 years from now, there will be a small part of the market that's focused on quality. And then there will be a big portion of the market that's just based on, hey, this is going to get me high or not. Just like beer, or whatever, they're focused on just getting people drunk. So I think there will be a market for both, but I don't really see high quality BHO making this comeback where it wipes out the mids market or the rosin market, because I don't think that's how the economics of all markets work out.
But I do love that you mentioned the wine thing, though, because it does always remind me, or the rosin process does remind me of high quality wine. If I'm thinking about a bottle of wine that's going to sell for $13,000 or something ridiculous, which is not uncommon, I would imagine that bottle, when it's being produced somewhere in Italy with a traditional worker who has been stepping on it barefooted. Sounds like horrible for sanitation regulations, but that's your $13,000 bottle of wine. And personally, I've never drank anything like that, but the people that are willing to pay that, they obviously do. They obviously know there's something different, and they don't care that it's a higher purity product. They care that it's made the way they want it made, right? And I'd love to see in the future if people were selling $13,000 grams of rosin. It's only made from a strain that only yields 0.3%. It would be interesting to see, and that would, of course, be a whole different marketing and a whole different demographic of consumers to take it to.
Yeah, if they made like high quality rosin out of OG material or sour diesel, I would pay not 13,000, but I'd pay more than the average price of high quality rosin.
100%.
Just because I miss those flavor profiles, and I
100%.
think at the end of the day, like the reason why I want to see BHO make a comeback is because I want to see those flavor profiles be available to the mass consumer again. And I miss those days of being able to have some more variety in the flavor selection that consumers get. So.
Absolutely. People just know what the yields are and know what the popular flavors are, and that's what they stick with. And it is frustrating. I miss it too when you'd go into a buddy's house and there'd be a table covered in different jars, each one completely unique. And now it's like, oh, here's this strain, and this strain. They all spell pretty similar, but here you go. It's a little frustrating.
Yeah. No, definitely.
BHO is better or rosin is better. Comes down to that personal preference. What do you like? What works for your business? And what's selling?
No, definitely. I think, the personal preference is a huge one, and knowing what consumers are buying, and, what is the volume of products that they're buying on this as well. And, can you produce it efficiently at scale and make money doing it? And at the end of the day, like, if the manufacturer can't make money doing it, just like they couldn't make money making, nug run BHO, then that whole segment of the market is going to die out. And I think that's kind of what happened with the whole the nug run BHO side of the scene. So
100%. Well, as always, if anyone has any questions on this in the future outside of this video, please get in touch with all of us and one of the sales team, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. Happy hashing, guys.